This is things I wish I could say in Sunday school. I want to share some thoughts and ideas that are different than what we usually hear. My goal is to be really honest rather than inherently faith-promoting. I hope these ideas may spark some interesting discussions with your friends, families, or classes. Please enjoy. This is the lesson for July 6th through 12th, 2 Kings chapters 2 through 7. Today's topics: the mantle of prophet, Elisha's miracles, the bears, and Naaman. The first thing that happens in the chapters for today is Elijah is taken up into heaven by a chariot of fire. When this happens, Elisha takes up Elijah's mantle or cloak and becomes the new head prophet. I was surprised that the manual doesn't highlight this because the church had made such a big deal of this my whole life. The mantle of prophet has become its own term. People give talks specifically about this. I've even heard people talk about the mantle of bishop when the new bishop is put into place in a ward. It gives the sense that there's a magic to these roles. People slip into roles all the time, even without religious context. It's a normal part of life. Here in this story of Elijah and Elisha, Elijah parts waters just before he's taken up into heaven, and afterwards, Elisha puts on Elijah's mantle, and Elisha parts waters in the same way. They are really trying to make an extremely strong connection, like perfect continuity. In the early days of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, after Joseph Smith's death, people made up a story about Brigham Young looking and sounding like Joseph Smith. It goes along with the same idea. People say that Brigham Young took up the mantle of prophet from Joseph Smith. I'm more skeptical. I think people just step into roles. The more you try to sell this continuity narrative, the less I buy it. It's also weird to me that the stories make these people almost irrelevant as people. Only the roles matter, not the person. I think stories about how a person is unique are much more powerful. A story about how someone is the same as their predecessor is kind of lame. But I can see why a church or institution would find the mantle idea valuable. They want loyalty to the institution and role over any loyalty to the person in the prominent position. The next topic is related. I'm going to talk about Elisha's miracles. The manual makes a big deal about Elisha doing similar miracles to what Jesus Christ would do during his ministry. But I think they are much closer to Elijah's miracles. I also think that's the point. We already mentioned the parting of waters. Elijah's miracle with the widow of Zarephath gave her endless oil and meal, food. He also later raised her son from the dead. Elisha does the same. Christ also multiplies food and raises Lazarus from the dead. But Elisha's connection to Elijah is way stronger than the connection to Christ. Yet the manual kind of stretches the connection to Christ's miracles because it wants to make the point that all prophets teach of Christ. But the evidence in the scriptures doesn't back up that assertion. Many Old Testament prophets did not teach about Christ. There are bits here and there before Isaiah, but it's a lot of confirmation bias. People are seeing what they want in the scriptures. If you look at the actual text, Elisha's miracles are much closer to Elijah's than to Christ's. I think it's clear that the writers are trying to create a continuity narrative from Elijah to Elisha. The stories of Elisha's miracles parallel Elijah's. There's very strong similarities there. So much so that I doubt the authenticity of the stories. It's too eerie for the prophets to do almost the exact same miracles, which makes me find the argument that Elisha is paralleling Christ much more suspect. The textual evidence for it is just too weak. Now I'm moving on to the next topic. Elisha and his encounter with children and bears. I'll read 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 23 and 24. And he went up from thence unto Bethel. And as he was going up by the way, there came forth little children out of the city, and mocked him, and said unto him, Go up, thou bald head, go up, thou bald head. And he turned back and looked on them, and cursed them in the name of the Lord. And there came forth 2 she-bears out of the wood, and tare 42 children of them. This is the kind of story that makes reasonable people question how anybody can believe in the entirety of the Bible. We're supposed to believe that a prophet of God is so petty that when some little children have a laugh at him, he curses them and causes the deaths of 42 children by 2 bears. Additionally, we're also supposed to believe that God condones and delivers on such extreme pettiness from God's prophet. I get that being bald can be a real sore spot, but dang. This is some gruesome revenge for minor mockery. And the very next verse is about Elisha's travels. Just moved right along from the slaughter of 42 children. I guess my point here is that no reasonable person reads this account and is totally okay with it. There are major problems. This is why every person that claims to believe in Scripture, if they've actually read it, they cannot believe it all. By necessity, we have to pick and choose which parts resonate with us, and which parts our good senses compel us to completely reject. We are all cafeteria believers at best, picking and choosing where we place our faith and where we will not. There's no way around it. If someone tells you they believe all of the Bible, they seriously lack some critical thinking skills. My last topic for today is Naaman. I'll recap the story briefly. Naaman is a bigwig in Syria, and he's a leper. He hears that a prophet in Israel can cure leprosy, so he goes. Naaman arrives at Elisha's, and Elisha sends a servant to tell Naaman to wash in the Jordan River 7 times, and he'll be cleansed from his leprosy. Naaman is upset. Elisha wouldn't come out to meet him. Naaman is heading home, and his servants say that if the prophet had asked something big to be done, he would have done it. So why not do this small thing? Naaman listens and washes in the Jordan and is cured. Most people hone in on the big task versus small task thing. That is a very human reaction. At the root of it is expectations. Naaman expected that if he was asked to do something to be cured, it would be a big thing. When it's not, he loses faith in the whole venture. Washing in the Jordan didn't come close to his expectations. This is on the heels of Naaman's other unfulfilled expectation. I'll read 2 Kings 5, verse 11. But Naaman was wroth and went away and said, Behold, I thought, he will surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God and strike his hand over the place and recover the leper. Naaman thought that Elisha would want to meet him, then do some kind of performance to cure his leprosy. I think if Elisha had met some of Naaman's expectations, Naaman would have felt satisfied. But after traveling so far and long to only receive instructions by a servant, it says he left in a rage. I think one of the big lessons from Naaman is to manage our expectations, but also to manage our response to unfulfilled expectations. We all form expectations all the time. It's how we cope with unknowns. Totally normal. But we can manage our expectations by how we talk to ourselves about them. I like to tell myself that it's going to be great no matter what. If I'm excited to try a restaurant, even if some of the food is disappointing, there's always some good dish or even elements of a dish that are great. I'm usually there with my wife and I love being with her. It's going to be a good time. Trips are another area I have to manage my expectations. I can get overly ambitious, so I say things to myself like, even if a bunch of stuff goes wrong, I'm still going to have a good time. Some things always go wrong. By setting my expectations appropriately, I'm really happy by all the things that go smoothly and the unplanned joys. I wasn't always this way. I had to learn from experience that I needed to manage my expectations so I wasn't upset by small stuff. The other aspect to this is managing our reactions. Disappointing stuff happens all the time. How we respond to it matters. We manage our expectations before, and we manage our response during and after. A positive, collaborative attitude can go a long way into yielding improved outcomes from disappointments. There's one additional part to Naaman's story that I want to highlight. Naaman's servants talked to him while he was in a rage, and he changed his course of action. This is super mature. First, his servants felt like they could speak to him, even when he's upset. That's huge. Only really good leaders have people who will do this. It's often not worth it for people to speak up to bad leaders because they just get shut down or worse. Then second, Naaman listened and did what his servants suggested. At his core, he was humble. He was able to receive uncomfortable feedback that his current course of action was a mistake, and he changed his plans accordingly. Another great leadership quality that is too rare. I really like the story of Naaman. There's a lot there beyond the usual lesson talking points. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening. Please share with family and friends. Until next time.